Thanks for listening to the Lunch and Learn with Dr. Barry, here to help educate, motivate, and put you on the right path to take control of your health through weekly discussions on topics in the medical field, public health arena, and in your community. And now your host, Dr. Barry.
All right, and welcome to another episode of the Lunch and Learn with Dr. Barry. I'm your host, Dr. Barry Pierre, your favorite board-certified internist, founder of drbarrypierre.com, as well as the CEO of Pierre Medical Consulting, helping you empower yourself for better health with the #1 podcast for patient advocacy, affirmation, as well as education. Guys, this week I bring you a very exciting episode. If you particularly follow me on some of my other social media platforms, the cat is, out of the bag as far as a new vaccine player on the block. And I wanted to talk about that, which we've kind of discussed a little bit on some of the previous episodes, but now that it's officially, here, officially approved, I wanted to touch base on it. So we're going to be talking about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine on today's show, kind of give all of the pros that I think is going to be extremely important in our battle against COVID-19, guys. So I am excited for today's episode. Like always, I want you to go ahead and subscribe to the podcast, leave us a 5-star review. And for those who, especially if you follow me on Instagram, I wanted to thank all of my Lunch and Learn listeners here as we made the top 20 top podcast for 2020 by PC Magazine. And again, I actually stumbled upon it on accident. I had someone email me and kind of congratulate me on the feat, and I didn't even realize it was happening, right? So again, and of course I would not be able to do it without you guys, right? So I wanted to definitely give you guys a personal shout out, my podcast listeners, because I know I have some podcast listeners who may not follow me on my other social media platforms. So I definitely wanted to make sure you guys got your kudos. And again, really the goal, when we started this thing was really to kind of educate, help simplify, this difficult, subject that is medicine, that is health, and really to help empower yourself for better health, right? That's, the motto, empower yourself for better health. That is always the goal, and I am your vehicle in doing so. So shout out to you, the Lunch and Learn community, for staying with us for all these years, right? Like, again, it's like I said, just an amazing feat to be recognized. And like I said, the work is not done. We still got work to do, and I'm definitely glad that you guys are rocking with me to be able to do it. So, like always, remember, subscribe, like, share with 10 friends. Or 20, whoever you want to do. And, leave us I have a lot of people who are leaving me these 5-star ratings on Apple Podcasts, but they're not leaving comments. So go ahead and make sure you leave a comment for us as well, so that we're all, ready to go from that standpoint there. So, again, you guys be blessed. Let's get ready for another amazing episode today. Today's episode is sponsored by the inaugural Autism in Black virtual conference. It is from April 1st to the 4th. It is a virtual conference going to be hosted by Maria Davis Pierre, who is the CEO of Autism in Black. Get ready to join over 15 esteemed guest speakers who are going to help empower us. Guys, you know my motto, empower yourself for better health, who are going to help empower us to help serve our communities and our families who have the blessed opportunity to work with those in the autism space. General admission tickets are $99 and VIP tickets are $247. Go ahead and check out the link, which will be in the show notes, or go to drbarrypierre.com/AIB conference for more information. All right, guys. So again, we are going to be talking about the new vaccine on the block. It is the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which, depending on when you're listening to this, got its emergency authorization just this Monday, guys. So we now have not one, not two, but 3 vaccine players on the market in this battle, right? And I really call this a battle, in this battle against COVID-19, which, especially here in the United States, we are coming up on the year anniversary of our first diagnosis pretty soon. But unfortunately, we've had 28 8 million plus affected and actually contract the virus. And we've had over 500,000 people pass away from the virus, right? So this is a virus that has taken a toll on our society, has taken a toll on our whole world, right? Like how many of you thought that you wearing masks would be not only a thing, but like if you go outside and you don't have your mask on, you almost get a panic attack, like I did. I went to the gym earlier this week and I left my mask at home. And I remember, like, I got out of the car and I just remember, because I was about to go to the gym, and I just remember, like, oh my God, where's my mask? And then like I was frozen, right? Because I couldn't even imagine going into the gym. I mean, they wouldn't let me in anyways, because, they have a mask policy, but like, I couldn't imagine walking in there without my mask on, even though, we're not going to name the gym, but like, once people are inside, I see a lot of people walking around without their mask, but that's a whole nother discussion, for another episode. So, we're talking about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Again, it is the third player, in our battle against COVID-19. There is a lot of differences that I want, everyone to kind of be familiar with, right? For this vaccine player. And I think why it's going to be so important, especially from a global standpoint. Obviously, here in the United States, I'm here, so I gotta make sure we highlight, the United States, health issues. But like globally, this is going to be a huge player to come. So first and foremost, right? So the Johnson & Johnson, one of the biggest differences that I think is going to be super important, right, and super helpful is that now it is a one-shot vaccine. Right, you might have, especially with the Moderna and Pfizer, our other two candidates that got emergency use. You remember, hearing people talking about possibly rationing off and maybe, having, instead of just everyone getting their second dose, maybe trying to give at least everyone at least one dose. Like you may have heard that, talk, especially in different parts of the world. And, they've even mentioned it here. Whereas now you have a vaccine where you don't have to worry about it, right? And you get your one shot and you're good to go until you need a booster, right? But again, whole nother discussion for a different episode. And I think that the reason why that's so important, because the concern that we were having is that, let's say again, I got the Moderna. So with the Moderna, you get one shot and then you have to wait 28 days to get the second shot. But so much can happen within 28 days that, you can go out of town, you can get sick, you can get COVID, you can, like all these things that could possibly happen in between the time of you getting your second shot, was so, so concerning for a lot of people. And has been so concerning for a lot of people, that, having the ability to get one shot and be kind of ready to go, like, is going to be an amazing feat. The most important aspect, right, which I think is going to be huge, is the fact that now you have a vaccine that does not need to be under the super frozen temperatures that the Pfizer and Moderna have to, right? And we've talked about this on prior episodes, why that is, right? It's because the type of vaccines that they are, they're easily degradable if they're in like room temperatures, which is why you may have seen, I remember reading a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, good listener to the show, Nate, who actually has the podcast, the Absurd Podcast, which I've been a guest on a few times. He sent me a link about, as far as someone, I think it was a doctor, I forget which part of the country he was in, but got in trouble and actually got fired for giving out vaccines to people who weren't necessarily on the list. But the reason why he did that is because they had a lot of cancellations. So they had these vaccines that needed to be given like that day, or they were going to expire. So he was like, I don't want to see this vaccine expiring. Let me give this to someone who I know can use it. So again, he got in trouble for that. But again, that's the concern, especially with these two vaccines with the Pfizer and Moderna, is that because they're so easily degradable when they're in kind of the room temperature, that you have to give it. Once you put it out there, it's time to go. It's like, it's go time. So you can't be having people, no call, no showing, and not showing up for the vaccine appointment, because that vaccine has to be used, or they almost end up having to throw it away. So you have a vaccine now that is able to be refrigerated at kind of normal temperatures. And what does that mean? Now that instead of just hospitals and, huge clinic facilities being able to have the vaccine And now you can have your regular pharmacies, you can have other clinics, have the Johnson & Johnson vaccine on hand, because they don't have a deep freezer, and they don't need a deep freezer for the Johnson & Johnson. So again, I think this is going to help the vaccine get into much more rural communities. And especially when we think globally, because we have to think globally when it comes to this disease, there's going to be parts of the world now that have access to a vaccine that they didn't, because they didn't have the facilities to house, the Moderna or Pfizer. So again, just amazing, great points from that standpoint there. And again, one shot, and it remains stable depending on if it's room temperature, about 3 months. Again, like I talked about that guy who, again, he got in trouble and got fired. The physician got fired for giving it early because it was going to waste. Or if you actually do freeze it, and not like super freeze, but like looks like -4 degrees, it can remain stable for 2 years, right? And the reason why I can do it is because of the different type of vaccine. One of the biggest concerns that I heard with the Pfizer Moderna from people who were skeptical of the vaccine was that, it's an mRNA vaccine. I've never heard of mRNA vaccines. Where is this new vaccine coming around? I don't want anything to do with this quote unquote new vaccine. First of all, and I said this before on my live stream. In fact, like I did a live stream, the Friday before this episode drops, last Friday. In fact, if you're on YouTube, check out my Livestream Fridays, where I'll be going live. I can answer questions if you have questions for that standpoint. But I remember going live, and someone asked me about the onus of the keeping the temperature correct, and having to have it for this mRNA type vaccine versus a regular quote unquote vaccine, right? And people are like so against the mRNA vaccine, which again didn't make any sense in the world, but whatever. We're here to educate. And so now you have a vaccine that's not an mRNA vaccine, right? So all of the people who did not want to get the first two vaccines because they're mRNA vaccines, guess what? Right? Like we've got your typical, vector vaccine, right? Which is much more common, been here since the 70s, right? So again, so definitely no excuses on why we should be doing these things here. Again, like I said, and I did point out that mRNA vaccine is not new, and it has been around as well too. You just didn't really hear about it. And again, because of the fact that it had to be under these, crazy environmental, restrictions as far as deep freezing and everything else, you can kind of understand why a lot of vaccines aren't made with mRNA technology, because again, you got to figure out like, how am I going to deep freeze this thing, and who can host it, and all those other things there. Whereas you don't have to worry about that with the vector vaccines like the Johnson & Johnson is. So it was a global study. It encompassed 8 different countries with over 43,000 participants. Here in the U.S., where out of that 43,000, about 44% of participants are here in the U.S., 74% white, 15% Hispanic, 13% black, 6% Asian, 1% Native American, right? And these are just phenomenal numbers, guys. Like if you look at other studies, right? If you look at other studies, especially for blood pressure, diabetes, like all these other studies, and look at the percentages of African American, Hispanic, like if you look at those, like you'll be like, wow, right? So just to see like these amazing 15% Hispanic, 13% black, we came out. Right. That tells me that in the African American community, we came out for these studies because we wanted to be represented. And I'm so proud of that aspect there, because, again, we can't be taken care of, right, if we're not at the table being ready to take care of and demanding to be taken care of. So we were there. So the numbers that you may have seen: 66% effective in preventing moderate disease, 85% effective against the severe disease. And overall, these numbers kind of vary depending on the location. 72% here in the U.S., 66% in Latin America, 57% in South Africa. And the reason why you see kind of those caveats, especially in the different parts of the country, is that they tested a lot of people. And I know you guys have been hearing about this on TV now with these variants, right? These more contagious variants out there, right? Now, again, they haven't discussed as far as these variants being more deadly, right? But they are more contagious in that matter. So you see the drop in percentage. But again, the big thing is the fact that, like, overall, like 85% protective against severe disease, aka that means you don't have to see Dr. Pierre in the hospital, right? And you're able to kind of deal, with the virus at home, right? Because I think that's one thing that we want to, really stress, right? That getting COVID, right, is one thing, right? Getting COVID is one thing. Of course, if you can avoid it, you can. But if you can't, whatever, right? The problem is getting COVID, getting sick from COVID, and then having to see me in a hospital. That is where the problem lies, guys. That's where the issues, come about. And that's what we want to avoid. And that's what this vaccine does. And like I said, I am so excited because now you have the option. They already talked about, I was reading up on the Johnson & Johnson. So they already planned by the end of March to ship out about 20 million vaccine doses out, and hopefully 100 million by the end of 2021. So like they are here. Our rural communities who didn't have access are going to be served and fed with this vaccine type, most likely. And, just be ready, right? And the same side effects that we've seen with the other ones, muscle aches, weakness, fever, just fatigue is another one, like a big one. That's what I got when I got my Moderna. They follow same suit with this one as well, too. But we have another player in this battle, right? Like I said, the numbers are sobering. Over 500,000 people died in under a year due to COVID, right? Under 500,000, like over 500,000, right? And we have to do something to stop that. If you want to get back to a sense of normalcy, right? If you want to get back to, going to restaurants and not feeling fearful, right? If you want to get back to traveling, if you want to get back to going to sport outings and all of those things there, the quote unquote normal life, whatever your normal life entailed before COVID came around, these vaccines are going to be a huge player in that battle. And I'm just like I said, I'm glad that we have another, I guess I like to say like weapon in our armamentarium against this virus, because we needed it. Like, it just is what it is. We needed it. And we're here. I am yours truly, Dr. Barry Pierre, right? If you have any questions, like I said, whether you follow me on one of my social media platforms, feel free to ask me, DM me. Like, we want to make sure everyone makes an informed decision when it comes to deciding which vaccine or if they get the vaccine. Like I said, I'm not here to force a vaccine in your arm. I'm just here to educate you to the point where you understand every single risk that you take by getting the vaccine or not getting the vaccine, right? And every risk that is truthful, right? Like, I don't want you to go under a random falsehood that you read on a blog of why you shouldn't take the vaccine. No, you have your educated, you have your people, you have your physicians here on the front lines, right? Again, I'm not only a talker. I got the vaccine. And I want to make sure everyone is safe, right? Because I want 2022 to look a little normal, right? I don't know about 2021. I've said this before. I don't know about 2021, but I definitely want 2022 to look normal. So you guys be blessed. Have a great week, day, evening, whenever you're listening to this. And I'm going to see you next week here on the Lunch and Learn with Dr. Barry.
Thank you for coming to the end of the episode. It is yours truly, Dr. Barry Pierre. I want to give my undying thanks to you for your support. Just getting to the end of the episode means that you at least enjoyed today's episode. Hope you were empowered by today's episode. Please remember to share this episode with at least 2 people that you know that would be greatly affected if they did not listen to today's episode. And if you have not already done so, subscribe to the podcast. Leave us a 5-star review, especially on Apple Podcasts or wherever you can leave a review. Leave a review there, because your support is so valuable for what we're doing here on the Lunch Learn and everything with Pierre Medical Consulting. And if you have not done so, go ahead and join the listserv. To join the listserv is very easy. Just grab your phone right now. I'll pause. Join the listserv. You want to text Lunch Learn Pod. This is all going to be one word, Lunch Learn Pod. to 44222. And you'll be on the listserv. You'll know exactly when new episodes are coming out. You'll know about new episodes before they actually come out, because I usually tell my listserv members, hey, this is what I'm working on. These are the guests that you should expect to hear for the week on. Thank you guys. You have a blessed day, and I'm going to see you guys next week.